Hi everyone, my name's Bryan from ITOO. It's a specialist insurance division of Hollard, and we insure drones. Recently we've paid out the first SA drone claim above R1 million, so it hurt quite a bit, but that's the nature of our business. Very professional operator, and unfortunately it was a very valid circumstance in which the claim arose. So we do know about claims. We are finding quite a large number of claims coming through from RPL and RSC operators, so it's not like we're not getting claims from that segment of the industry. We thought that it would run clear for a number of years, but unfortunately these are the guys with the big equipment, so we know all about it. Okay, so just to kick off on the drone industry, and for the audience, I know it's a bit of a mixed bag, but we've got multiple uses of drones in terms of Industry 4.0. We find that drones have been used in all segments of the economy. So it's not a matter of a toy, and I'll come to that a bit later on. It's a tool of trade or piece of equipment that gathers data. So images of data is how we manage and store that data. Right, so emerging industry trends. What we have found is there's some major industries. What I haven't said is we insure about 300 drones currently, commercial drones. And what we have done is segmented them into various industry types. So we are finding film and advertising industry. Obviously, there's a lot of movies, a lot of advertising production companies. The mining side, geotech, aerial mapping, stockpile quantification, we're seeing a lot of that coming through. Agriculture is an interesting segment. A lot of them are self-insured or uninsured. The farmers are saying, well, they'll buy the equipment and they'll fly it on their own properties. So there's always that debate as to what is commercial use, and there's the debate about security. And the farmers are obviously using drone technology for security. Policing, very unstructured approach at the moment. We look at the city of Cape Town, they've got some nice drone equipment. Some other municipalities are using it in a very unstructured manner, but the police forces are looking at using drones. Security and surveillance, I have touched on farms and industrial sites. So how to monitor night flights. Obviously there's one RSC that does a lot of night flight type activity, and we note that they are doing a lot of IR type work in terms of night vision infrared. Humanitarian and NGOs, there are a few of those, and military applications in terms of surveillance and intelligence gathering. So insurance trends, I find, or we find, that the ROC and the RPL pilots are obviously very clear of the regulations in terms of their qualifications, but we also find that the unlicensed operators know exactly what they may or may not do. So they're very quick to say it's recreational, it's for personal use. They tell us all the right things because they are mindful of what the regulations are. So to say that the public don't understand, I would debate that issue. We are finding that there are fewer major players, so there is a lot of consolidation and collaboration across the industry. Drone fleets, we're finding some of the RSCs have fleets in excess of 30 units or 30 UAVs. So that's quite a substantial number. Professional operators, we all know the number's 25. I looked on the website this morning after 2 years. So that's less than one a month. And I think I'll come to that a little bit later. We also find that there's been a move towards fit-for-purpose equipment. So in the early days, everyone got a Phantom 3 or Phantom 4 drone. What we have found now is there's a lot of movement towards very industry-specific type equipment and industry-specific type cameras. And obviously weight is a function. And we also look at the data gathering capabilities. And what we are finding is that there's a lot of industry integration. So engineering companies are using drones, construction companies, a lot of the geotech project management side. And we are finding that there is a move away from general production drones, so the drones you can go and get it de-wired, through to very niche equipment that is on order. And obviously there is a big social media community, and I think that's an opportunity for the SA drone industry. So the CIA told us about the concerns a year ago, and they said that there's an increasing number of unregistered and unapproved RPAS operators. But a lot of them would be registered if the process was faster. So I think it's not that there's an unwillingness, but we do find that a lot of people just get frustrated with the process. They try and comply and they give up after they get the ASL application or ASL letter. There's also a lack of awareness with regards to registration of a drone. So a lot of people, and this is an American slide, said, well, when do I need to register my drone? And the view is, well, at a certain weight or a certain capability. And I think the weight is, I would move away from weight as a qualification because it's about the data. Okay. I saw a Google partner the other day and they said data, so I don't know if it's data or data anymore, but either way, it's about the data. So why is it necessary to regulate? Currently, there's only 25 RSCs registered. The number of RPL pilots, in excess of 400 to 500, maybe it's 600, we don't know. Number of registered drones, according to the CIA this morning, they said 800. And in South Africa, there's no drone registry. Okay. However, when you get a bank account, you need to be FECA'd. When you get a cell phone, you need to be RECA'd. Okay. And there's obviously ICASA licenses in terms of transmission of data and how that data is disseminated and accumulated. So what we can say in the South African market is that the horse is bolted. Markets like Kenya, you'll find that the regulations have just been relaxed now, but compliance is 3 or 4 page letter of demands and stipulated points from the KCAA. In the US, there's the Federal Drone Registry. They've recently topped 1 million registered drone operators. Okay, that includes hobbyists as well as commercial drone pilots. And that's important because we need to know who's flying a drone, to whom the drone belongs. So if a drone ends up in your garden and no one comes to own it or claim it, is it Johnny next door spying on the neighbor, or is it a group of burglars using drone technology to actually spy on your house? We don't know that. Okay, so with a drone registry, we would actually be able to track that drone back to the legal owner or the registered owner. So that is a little bit of management, but I think it's extremely important in the South African context. Just moving on. Illegal drone use. We know of cases where drones have been used by rhino poachers. So to assume that the organized crime syndicates are not using drones would be faulty. They are using drones. They're using drone technology. They can actually go and get a Phantom 3, Phantom 4, depending what you want. Australia's regulators were saying, well, we don't need to regulate small drones in Australia until certain terrorist groups are strapping devices onto those drones which are weaponized. Also, burglars, they've been known to be flying around in residential areas and looking at commercial properties. So the issue is, who's flying around, are they licensed, are they regulated, and who's accountable? Right now, no one's accountable. All we know is that if you get caught, you're going to have a 50,000 rand fine, 10 years imprisonment, but that's not really good enough. We actually need to know which drone belongs to whom and who's accountable for that drone. Just like with cell phone technology, if that cell phone is registered to a particular individual, that individual is accountable for the use of that cell phone in illegal activity. The other issue is toys. And I know that reference was made to toys this morning, and I think we should give that a rethink, because these toys are actually deregulated military equipment. Okay, so if you're buying a high-res or high-spec drone with thermographic equipment, or gimbals, or GPS locators, you'll note that on a lot of those invoices it's saying subject to the US Arms and Ammunition Act. So you actually may not trade or distribute that technology. So a lot of it has been deregulated. So I have met recently with some interesting characters from the US government, and what they did say was, because there's not enough revenue in war anymore, a lot of those military firms or US military firms are now commercializing the offerings. So they're actually deregulating some of that equipment that is now available. And then, interesting fact, the US government's banned DJI drones because the servers are all based in China. So they're saying that the Chinese are spying by default on American infrastructure and equipment. 911 case study. So we all knew what happened in 911. And what happened in the insurance industry was particularly interesting. So obviously, commercial or civilian drone technology was not available at the time. And what happened on the airline side is all aircraft were grounded. So any flight that was still airborne was forced to land. And over a period of time, the war risks insurance actually retracted all cover worldwide. And then they renegotiated the terms. The costs went up about 10 times, or 1,000% for certain covers. And we found that it's taken a number of years to get back. All revised war terms were often a take it or leave it basis. And to this day, the industry remains vulnerable to future disruption. What we can say is that insurance regulates the industry. So I know that the CIA has invited industry participants, and I think the insurance industry should be involved as well, simply because we pay the claims. So if there is no compliance or no skill, we won't insure, and that's industry standard. So why is this important to the SA industry? Well, firstly, we need a national drone registry. That registry will enable the tracking of all drones back to the registered owners, as I have stated, accountability for the actions of illegal drone operations. So if it all goes wrong and you're doing an illegal act, you'll lose your phantom because it's 20,000 Rand. But if you're smuggling diamonds or drugs or contraband, obviously the payload is a lot more valuable. And then obviously if we've got a national drone registry, it enables immediate mass communication to all drone operations nationally and regionally. So if we have a library or all the RPL pilots signed up, what that would enable us to do is communicate en masse to the entire industry with regards to certain things like events relating to terrorism, grounding of aircraft, and obviously a drone is an aircraft. So how is that communicated currently? Question mark. Obviously the manned aviation is different, but unmanned, there's no means of communicating with the various RPL pilots. And obviously from a CIA perspective, you can't stop the tide, nor can you put the genie back in the bottle. The genie's out. We need to deal with this industry. We need to manage it responsibly. Self-regulation is obviously the way to go. And I think a question for the audience and the panel is, well, if we're not going to get a drone registry, should we not create one ourselves? And I think that is an area of discussion and debate. And obviously our role is to steer and manage the industry in a responsible direction.